Let's look at 5 C0 teams for Lyney, starting with what will probably be the most popular one. The first thing to note with Lyney is that he deals 60% extra damage to opponents affected by Pyro, and up to 40% extra damage if there are 2 other Pyro units in the team. Because of this, a lot of people will run him in mono Pyro teams, with this one dealing the most damage. It also doesn't require too much investment. If you have the other 3 characters, it's highly likely they're all built, because you put them in so many teams. The other side to this coin will be that some people will find this team boring to play. You're only swapping one character out from a national team or even a clean mono Pyro team. Another downside of this team is that there's no shield or resistance to interruption. While I've demonstrated the team with Kazuha, definitely don't sleep on Sucrose either. Against smaller enemies, she'll constantly crowd control them, reducing how much they can attack you, and she can also hold Thrilling Tales. A more defensive version of that team swaps Xiangling out for Dia. You can either give a 4-piece emblem for a burst, or 4-piece tenacity to buff Lyney as much as possible. I've even seen people suggesting C4 Yanfei as a shield. While I guess you could if you don't have Dia and you want to keep the triple Pyro, I definitely don't recommend it. I think it's going to be awkward getting enough energy recharge to get a burst back without sacrificing the HP that makes the shield strong in the first place. As well as mitigating damage, Dia gives Lyney a bit of resistance to interruption. This, along with Lyney's taunt, will help him get those charge attacks off. I think it's nice to have another team we can make use of Dia in. It's just a shame that it's the same as the one you currently use her in, with Xiangling swapped out for Lyney, but it's a step in the right direction. I don't think they have the best synergy, but given the fact we get Lynette for free, and the twins, we could run Lyney and Lynette together. She doesn't offer as much support capability as Kazuha does with his elemental damage buff, but she does offer another taunt. This means you could stick with Xiangling and rely on taunts instead of a shield. It's a riskier playstyle, but one that's different to what we used to so far, so it can be fun too. Giving Lynette the 4-piece Viridescent Venerum means you still have a resistance shred, and giving a Favonius sword means you can give Xiangling and Lyney more particles. I'll have a C6 Lynette DPS showcase out later too, so if that's something you're interested in seeing, subscribe to the channel. Now let's look at the next team. If you prefer the comfort of a shield and you have Zhongli, you can use him instead of Dia, and then you have the option to go with Kazuha for a hypercarry team. If you want Kazuha in your other team, or you simply want to use a different character in the flex slot, you could put Albedo in there. It'll give you extra off-field damage as well as the Geo Resonance, which is going to give you more shield strength and 15% more damage. For Zhongli's weapon, you have a couple options. Firstly, you could give him Black Tassel for a stronger shield, which will make it comfier to get Lyney's charge attacks off. Alternatively, Favonius Lance will give more particles to Lyney to get his burst off more often. Unfortunately, Lyney's restrictive with a passive that encourages mono Pyro, so his team building options are limited. If you want, you could just disregard the passive, playing with who you want and accept the fact it won't be as good as his mono Pyro teams. If you plan to do that, I'd just use a full HP Zhongli build, and then for the other 2 characters you can throw in whichever flexes you feel work well together. For example, you could build Lyney as a burst and skill spammer and only occasionally use his charged attacks. That way he'd work in an overloaded team with Raiden and then one of Yai or Lisa holding Thrilling Tales. I want to stress that this won't be good against high abyss floors, but in the overworld and domains you could even drop Zhongli and go for a triple cryo setup with Rosaria, Layla and Kaya. For a rating out of 10, I'd give Lyney an 8. He deals a lot of damage, can function without his burst for overworld challenges like commissions, and can even use artifacts from the strongbox like 2-piece Crimson Witch 2-piece attack or 4-piece Lava Walker. His biggest disadvantage is the restrictive mono Pyro passive. Given the fact so many of the Pyro characters we have are on-field DPSs, you don't have much flexibility with his teams. He also uses Kazuha, Xiangling and Benny, who are 3 of the most popular characters in the game, which somewhat restricts your other Abyss team. Overall, not a character you should regret going for, but not one you'll be missing out on if you choose to skip. I'll be dropping a C6 Lynette DPS showcase later too. If you want to see it, subscribe to the channel and take it easy.